back on the podcast. So happy to be joined this week. And it's really a different element of the podcast than really I've ever done before. We have from Amazon Prime Video, somebody who's doing something really, really different and interesting. And when I heard about it just a few days ago, I said, I really want to explore this on a podcast because I think there's a very good chance it's the future. So we have Sam Schwartzstein of Amazon Prime Video, a key part of their telecast. And actually, if you watch the Amazon Prime games on Thursday night, what you see is you see different elements of how to watch the game. You can watch it with the regular feed, with Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. You could watch it en Espanol with their crew. But you can also watch a very technical aspect of it. And that's what we're going to talk about in this podcast segment. And I have been really fascinated to read about it a little bit and to find out a little bit about how artificial intelligence is beginning to influence the telecasting and streaming of football games that we're going to see in the future. And Sam Schwartzstein, welcome to the podcast. And I'm really looking forward to learning something in the next few minutes about something I know absolutely nothing about. So thank you.
Well, thank you. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to help educate, make smarter football fans. That's kind of my goal in life.
So, Sam, let's talk about, first of all, who you are and how you got involved in this, because you have a very interesting backstory involving a former college teammate at Stanford.
Yeah. I think I have a pretty famous college roommate in Andrew Luck. We finally got to work together again. As we did lose the Quiz Bowl. I don't know if you saw in the TNF nightcap after the San Francisco versus New York Giants game, but he is someone who I've talked to for years. We're close friends. I'm close with the whole family. Oliver Luck, who I worked with at the XFL when we tried to reimagine football there from 2018 to 2020 as well. So we played together at Stanford, and then we've continued to communicate. And he helps me prepare each week for Prime Vision with Next Gen Stats.
Okay, so you have imagined football in a different way, because I watched the Jacksonville New Orleans game on Thursday night, basically in your Prime Vision, and it was so interesting because you're basically trying to predict and foreshadow what is about to happen. Before we get into that, though, I'd like you to explain your concept and how it is that you said, I think we can do something with a football game, and we can use some portions of artificial intelligence to try to help make people smarter fans. Just explain how it all came about.
Yeah, so I joined Amazon in around June. I started working with them of last year, 2022, and they'd already had this idea for an alternate broadcast called Prime Vision with Next Gen Stats, and it was about trying to identify the hidden game of football, right? And that's what the original analytics book football analytics book was called, The Hidden Game of Football, and it was about, that's where we have the all 22 camera angle. We have the player ID tags. We have all these different features that are helping you see the game in a way that you haven't seen it before on other broadcasts. And that's including being able to integrate analytics into the broadcast part of the game. When we set out this offseason, we were thinking about what are these big ideas we can do now that we are Amazon, that we are in a unique spot as a sports broadcaster that is a tech company first. And so we looked at all these different ideas of what we could do. And the first one came to mind is, how do we identify the players that are going to blitz, or at least take you into the mindset of what I used to do when I played center in college, what Andrew used to do when we would both try and figure out what should our protection be? What should the blitz plan be? What should the blitz pickup be? Because that's the first thing they're looking at. And there weren't a lot of things that we could do to help people to watch defense in a unique way. A lot of things we can do on offense, how fast a ball carrier is moving, how much yards after catch they're getting. But it's hard to identify the defense. And so we thought about doing it from a rules-based perspective. Take what I have as rules as offensive lineman, how many eligible receivers are over on one side of the field, how many coverage players are on that same side of the field. Could this player possibly blitz? But then talking with our science team, which is an amazing team all over the world, they said, I think we could do this with machine learning and AI. And we went through the process to be able to identify using machine learning, where we don't have a readout of the rules or the specific reasons why someone's being highlighted as a potential blitzer. But we know that it's being ingested from thousands of plays that are then creating that identification tag of this player is likely going to blitz. And it's there, you could never be 100% right because we're doing everything in real time pre-snap. And you can never be 100% right because some of the times, if it's called a green dog blitz, if the linebacker is man on the running back, if he goes out for a pass, if the running back goes out for a pass, the linebacker will be man on him. If he stays in the block, that linebacker will blitz. So we're just giving you an idea of looking at the defense the same way the quarterback is. They're trying to break down what players are going to do in what coverages, but mostly where should I set the protection on which players are going to blitz?
Okay, but Sam, tell me, where does artificial intelligence come into this? And who is your artificial intelligence team? Who are the people who designed this to make you able to highlight people who you think might be blitzers on a specific play?
Yeah, so we have a machine learning team based all over the world that are the people that are built the software, the model that breaks down every play to identify which players are likely.
Where are they? Where are the people who built the model?
They're in Tel Aviv.
Wow.
Yeah, and so part of my job was communicating.
Are they football fans?
And this was a great part of the story is, large part of it is I'd be waking up at early morning hours. They're up at late hours their time, and I'm explaining the basics of football because there are certain things,
What is this? This off season? This past off season?
This past off season, right? And so it's very quick learning curve. I'm working with them, and our whole team is working with them. Everyone on the Prime Vision team, from Alex Strand, Scott Carpin, Josh Friedenberg, we're working together to help teach them football basics, because the proliferation of the 3-4 defense, but it's actually a 3-4 personnel, 4-man spacing, which is like a Von Miller who plays outside linebacker, but he rushes 99% of the plays. That was a big kink that we had to go over a hurdle, because on Prime Vision, we're not highlighting the players that rush all the time. We're highlighting the unique blitzers. You have to be blitzing less than 60% of your rushes for us to pick you as a player to highlight, because everyone knows there's going to be at least 4 rushers on every play outside of a prevent defense scenario. And so we're not choosing to highlight Von Miller or Dexter Lawrence or even train our model on those players. We're looking to highlight those unique players. So I had to communicate with our machine learning team in Tel Aviv. Hey, these are the certain position types. This is the player types. These are the scenarios in which we want to.
And what do you charge them with? What did you ask them to do?
So we're using the Next Gen Stats data feed that identifies which plays do players blitz. And then I'm saying, take this information in, use the RFID tracking chip data from Zebra and Next Gen Stats that's in every player's shoulder pads.
Yeah. So let me, for people who don't know this, every player in every game wears a tracking device.
2 tracking devices, one in each shoulder pad, which is important because that gives us player orientation.
Okay. All right. So they wear tracking devices. And what happens is, at the end of every game, you can tell how far this player has traveled, the speed that this player has gone. It's the latest thing is to say, okay, Devon Achane is, has got, and Tyreek Hill have 5 of the fastest 6 plays or whatever it is in the NFL this year. But you're using it for a slightly different reason when you're trying to predict what might happen before a play. But before I ask you that question, how many people are in Tel Aviv working on this problem or working on this issue?
Quite a few. I can't give you the exact number, but this is we have a team. They don't work on just defensive alert. There's a lot of other projects that they work on, but it's all about making our customers at Amazon have the best viewing experience across the board, whether it's new innovations or different optimizations they can do.
So tell me when you actually started working with them on this. You remember?
Probably around April or May. We had been ideating on the process since early of 2022 season, because that's when they tasked us like, hey, you're going to get access to this team. Start thinking about ways you can integrate best with them. And then Alex Strand and Betsy Riley, they went over to Tel Aviv, met with the team, did some brainstorming, then came back, and we were able to, ideate on a few of the different ideas that we had. We probably had 15 different ideas. We have about, I can't give you the exact number that have gone to production, but a lot have gone to the wayside that we've tried to accomplish and said push it off for later times. But we have the ability to continue iterating with them and talking about them about different ways that we can help expose new things to our fan base. And what I really like is we're not afraid of the big, hairy, audacious goals. We are looking to try and do things that people said that you can't do, which has been a really fun part of the process.
Okay, so I got about 14 questions, but let me ask one and then another one quickly after that. So how long does it take this team in Tel Aviv to understand the sport of football?
So I guess it's a two-pronged process. Think of it about football itself. I played football for 11 years. I wrote a rule book at the XFL, player compensation model, but I still don't know exactly what every safety's responsibility is on every play. I don't need to. I don't need to know how to be a back judge when I wrote a rule book. I don't need, in my current job, I don't need to know what the director and the associate director do on everything they do. So we all need to know what our special roles are. So honestly, if you can just take a basic data,
sounds like the Belichick thing, do your job.
Exactly. And you can do your job. So there were some basics about football that they need to learn, but they didn't need to be me. I can be me. I'm the person who connects analytics and football together for a common goal. But I'm also not the person designing the artwork that goes on the screen. I'm not the person that designing when we show certain plays on screen. We have great people like Alex Strand, like Scott Carpenter, Josh Friedenberg, all these people working together that can then make sure we're putting this in the right spot for people. And we can have the Tel Aviv team work on what makes them best is computer vision, machine learning. We don't use computer vision on this part of the project, but they are our CV computer vision machine learning team. So they can use what makes them great. We just need them to know enough about football for them to be able to then get to this point, because our numbers are much different than what other products might be out there, because we are focused on real-time, predictive, and not guaranteed to be right every time. Like you saw, the guys that light up with a red orbit, not blitz. But 99% of the time, those are players the quarterback has to keep their eye on. And it's helping you watch defense in a unique way.
And your goal when you started this last spring, your goal in working with this team in Tel Aviv is to try to predict when defensive players are going to blitz. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, when they're more than likely going to. And so it's not like exactly we want to be 100% right every time we light someone up red, because you're going to leave the options out. So, a big defensive front from Mike Zimmer is called the double mug front, where they walk two middle linebackers up in the A gaps. You'll see every team do it on 3rd and 7+ on Sunday. And not every time do they rush, but the machine learning model is able to identify, hey, one of these two might rush. So we'll highlight both of them sometimes. Sometimes we won't highlight them, even though they're in that position, because the model is able to figure out in real time which one's the more than likely going to rush. Or they can't rush everyone because they have to cover some players. So it's a really cool way to kind of to look at it and trust it. One of my favorite parts of the model is there are times where I'm wrong, where my rules take me to the wrong guy, to take me there, because these defensive coordinators, they know that offensive lines and quarterbacks have their own blocking
Go
assignment
to
rules.
school on them. Yeah.
So, but the model is sometimes able to see through it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the cool part of it is, and I can't read out why. What another huge part of this is a living, breathing part of the broadcast, because I can't turn it on and off. Our team doesn't tell it, hey, only do it in certain scenarios, do it. We let it go. And
do it every play.
Every single play, which is a fear of mine. I was like, well, maybe we just do it on the passing plays, but we were talking to the team, and we watched multiple games in shadow mode. We had it, on all of our games before we released it in the Kansas City Broncos game. And it looks great on all the plays. And so it was unique for us. It wasn't just, hey, only for passing downs or blitzing downs. We're now able to get on all scenarios. And the model is able to know in certain down and distances, certain things are expected and unexpected. And we can now make predictions that way.
Okay. I want to get into an example of this. And first of all, for people who are listening to this, understand that on the regular game broadcast that you see, if you are just watching the football game, as normal, streaming with Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit, if you're just watching that, you're not going to see this. But if you tune to the Prime Vision with Next Gen Stats, then you are going to see what Sam is talking about. And Sam, I want to go to one specific example of something we saw in the game on Thursday night. Okay, it was the first quarter, 5 minutes and 26 seconds left in the first quarter. New Orleans has a 3rd and 7 at the Jacksonville 32. Okay, and what happens when this play is when Carr is surveying the defense and he starts to use his cadence? You see 2 red circles, that are superimposed around a potential rusher on the left-hand side of the offense and a potential rusher on the right-hand side of the offense. On the left-hand side of the offense was a slot corner named Trey Herndon, okay? And up till this point, and I checked with Next Gen on this after the game, up to this point, he had only blitzed 12 times all season. And yet, on this play, there is a circle, circled, a red circle, encircling Trey Herndon. And all of a sudden, the snap goes off, and he rushes. And most interestingly about this is that he gets to Derek Carr, and he basically makes the path of the football go off, okay, and he hits Carr, and it's incomplete. And this turned out to be actually a very significant play, because they then have to try a 51-yard field goal. It's no good. And so that play right there was a gigantic play in this game. It saved either 3 or 7 points for the Jacksonville defense. So take me into that play, and why did the artificial intelligence and the model believe that Trey Herndon was going to be the guy who blitzed?
So I'll give you the first response will be a little disappointing. I cannot give you exacts. That's a large part of the machine learning process. Is what the model is doing is taking in as many endpoints information endpoints as it can. It knows the down and distance. It knows the alignment of every player on the field, offense and defense. And then there's expectations of all the plays of where players have blitzed from. And it's taking that bevy of information to then make a prediction. So I can't tell you the rules-based model. It's not a rules-based model where I can tell you this specific player is doing this that leads to the model spitting out the example. What I can tell you, though, is that it's seen so many different plays and so many different scenarios that it's intelligently highlighting unique players. It highlights both the slot corner on the left and the outside linebacker on the right of the offense, Trey Herndon being on the left side of the offense. Who it did not highlight was the middle linebacker, 23. And we even see on the film, which is so great because we're able to integrate it with the audio, Derek Carr points out the middle linebacker. And so that's where they take the protection to.
23 is the mic.
23 is the mic. 23 is
Yeah.
the mic. That's where they're drawing the protection to. So that means that someone still has to block the edge defender on the right. That's where Carr is looking to throw to. That's likely where they had Alvin Kamara blocking to, or Jamal Williams. I forget who was in that play. And so that's leaving that extra blocker free. So they chose to, hey, we thought there was a bigger threat with Aluakon, the middle linebacker. We're going to not block him. And so that's what's so unique is the model's able to pick up something that the offense did not. And so more often than not, extremely trained quarterbacks, they're going to be able to find everything. But there are those moments where these defensive coordinators are paid a lot of money to figure out new blitzes, to be able to identify, to be able to get these guys off guard. I know you have these certain rules. I know you're going to go most dangerous man and try and go block it inside out. But that does leave some guys open on the rush. So, again, I cannot tell you the specific reasons why. Sometimes basic football rules get you there. Sometimes not. He is pressed up to the line of scrimmage. But know that the model is ingesting so many different plays to be able to train itself off of that it's able to identify these players when they're in unique spots.
Sam, let's just one other thing about this that I think is very, very important. Okay, you've got all these factors. They've probably looked at every play, in a matter of milliseconds that Jacksonville has run in third and between 6 and 10 or 7+, whatever it is, and their tendencies on that. And they've got to do this in a matter of 1 or 2 seconds. And then they have to see where the defenders are being aligned. And when they've ever been aligned, when Trey Herndon has been aligned where he was, has he, even though he's only blitzed 12 times all season, if he's been aligned in that spot 10 times and come 7, well, they think there's a pretty good chance he might come this time. So it's multiple factors. And the one thing that artificial intelligence kind of tells me is that it has the ability to sift through a million factors in 3 seconds, right, or maybe less. And is that part of this?
Yeah, and so it's not the specific players doing specific things. I'll say that. I can't go too much into the technical side of the model, other than that it is machine learning AI that is taking everything in real time. And so there are, it's not identifying exact players. It's saying players in certain spots and positions, to that matter. But it's not even saying 7 out of 10 times this is happening. It's I used to approach the game, and I know Andrew approached the game as a collection of if-then statements so that you don't have to have every play for every moment, right? I can wipe out all of the stuff I see the team do on 3rd and 2 when it's 3rd and 7 as a player. But the model is ingesting so many different factors that it's not if-then statements that are being governing what the model is doing. It's taking in everything, every scenario. If the safety moves over, how does it affect the corner? If there's motion on a play, how would that affect the play? If they're seeing scenarios. So it's taking in so much information. It's not necessarily going on to the granular, this player blitzed this many times, so I think it's going to. It's taking in as many plays as it can as it's training to be able to predict in the future.
Okay. We got time. I got time for 2 other quick things. One, I realize that because of the technical aspect of what is actually allowed on the field, for instance, coaches cannot see what people are seeing at home. They can't see the red circle being drawn around Trey Herndon and warn their offensive line, hey, listen, watch whatever number he is on the blitz. They can't see that. Correct. However, I mean, what is to stop somebody from sort of perverting this process? And what's to stop somebody from figuring out a way to see this and very quickly get a signal to somebody so that they know for instance, who is very likely to blitz on this play?
So it's not as a big of a deal because a guy like we have a panel of experts that review this film, right? That help us in. So a guy like myself, Jeff Schwartz, we already see the game this way. The coaches that break down film, they're already looking at the similar type of tendencies to see this. So in real time, it doesn't really affect the game.
Do you think right now that the Saints coaches up in the box thought it was likely that Herndon was coming on that play?
I think that some of them can see that they thought, oh, maybe we should have been able to send the protection over to him. If they want,
because honestly, Sam, the craziest thing about this, and I found myself thinking about this, that Dennis Allen doesn't know what you know, okay, and what you were highlighting on the screen, but some farmer in Des Moines knows because he's watching this on TV and he's a football nerd. So it's just it's very kind of very weird and very next phase. And I wonder, have you had to talk to the league about security and about making sure that nobody is seeing this who shouldn't be seeing it in real time?
No. They have so many checks and balances in place already, right? There's no technology allowed in the booth. Even the analytics experts that are going up in the booth and helping tell coaches what to do in certain scenarios in fourth down decision making, they have a printout book that they bring with them. So they already can't have technology helping them in game decision making process. So no one's reached out about that. I know teams have reached out about, hey, we want to do this on our film, right? They think this would be a good teaching. Right? We have another feature called Prime Targets where we'll light up a player if they're more than likely going to convert a first down if they receive the ball in that moment. They'll light up green. So some teams have been like, hey, we'd like to do that with our film to help teach our players. And that's the whole point of what makes this unique is we're showing fans and our customers at home the hitting game that a highly trained player and coach could already see, right? And it's not being done on a replay or with a telestrator. It's not being done live. And that's what's so cool about what we're trying to do is we're pushing the envelope that way. And so it's attracted the attention of coaches, of analytics departments, of video departments. They're all interested in it, but no one's using it for nefarious reasons.
Yeah. Last thing I would ask you. So what's the future of this? What's next? Where are we headed with artificial intelligence and the NFL?
So I think we've already had amazing machine learning breakthroughs. NGS has done a lot of great machine learning breakthroughs, helping understand like rush yards over expected completion percentage. Those are some of the machine learning things. I think what I know about Amazon, having been here now over a year, is that I don't question anything as possible or impossible, right? I came from minor league football and I had to do a lot of it on myself with Oliver Luck, Brian Kilmeade, Eric Galco. Like we had a small team. And now I come here and we have the ability to where we can think of anything. And so this is a taste of now something that, I've been passionate about for a while. How do I replace myself? How do I replace this? How does everyone get to see the game the way I see it? So step one down, but there's a lot of more things we can do on defense, offense. And I think it's all about providing a guided viewing experience so that we can super serve our fans. We do have this all 22 camera angle that shows you the whole field.
Yeah. Trained
eye, they love it because they're seeing it. But to the untrained eye, how do we now show you where your eye should go on a play? So the sky's the limit. I think that the more, the better. You have to be tasteful with it. We can't light up every single player on every single play, right? We can't just do bells and whistles everywhere. There's a different broadcast for that. So we're just trying to help give a guided viewing experience to get people to be smarter. And so this is the tip of the iceberg.
We used to think that the first down line was the coolest new thing. And for a couple of years or a few years, it was cute. This is the next thing. This is it. You're showing it. And I think, I don't know how long it'll take, but this really should be a part of at least big games, in my opinion. It's fun. It was really different watching a game this way. And I'd recommend to people who have an option, who are not just sitting there in a bar watching the game somewhere. If you have an option, you should try this. Watch it for a quarter. See what you think. You're still going to hear the game broadcast, but you'll be seeing it really, really in a different way. And it's kind of fun. It's a little bit odd because it's distracting. You find yourself looking not necessarily at the quarterback taking the snap. I'm telling you, I was looking a lot at the red circles. And, is he coming? Is he coming? And sometimes he'd come and sometimes he wouldn't, and it just is interesting. So you've given football fans some food for thought, Sam.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that we call them the red orbs, and so it's like always we say it's Orban time once the game's about to go on. The first time I saw it working in dot form, so I'm sure you've seen the dots.
Yeah.
So our first readouts before we went on, I cried. I'm not gonna lie. My fiance was here. She saw it happen. I was like, oh my God. And then the first time I saw it as an overlaid, I cried again. It really is a project that our whole group's been passionate about. For now to have the reception and have someone like you say this is the future is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is kind of a cool thing. Sam Schwartzstein, thanks a lot for taking the time. Amazon Prime Video with next gen stats is a cool thing. And, I hope people check it out. I think it'll be a real add-on to football experience. Sam, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.